good morning, and welcome all to this celebration of the World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. In 2022, this is the 53rd installment of this annual celebration, and I think that it's fitting that this year, one of the things that we'll be considering is digital technologies, its relevance to older persons, and how it can facilitate healthy aging. A fascinating theme, and we have a lot of experts that we are going to invite to explore this with us. And it should be a really, really interesting, thought-provoking and enlightening conversation. The first of these guests of mine is the national spokesperson for the National Youth and ICT. Her name is Aluana Chokwe, and she's going to join me now. Aluani? Good morning, Aluani. We're just going to try and get Aluani on the line. Oh, do I just chill and pause? Okay, cool. count me in, Norse. Good. Welcome back, everyone, to this fascinating conversation on this World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. I have with me people who come from a very, very interesting confluence of not only digital technologies, but also a place for healthy aging and a place where there is great relevance for older persons. To help introduce me to this fascinating space, I have Jeff and Tibelo from City of Joburg Libraries. Welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. So since the last time I visited the library, which I must confess has been way too long, amazing things have been happening.
Yes.
Fill me in on what I've been missing out on.
Well, we've had to change with times, and since libraries, more libraries were built post '94, but we've had to change in terms of how we deliver services to move with times, knowing that most people have access to internet, most people have smart devices that they can use, and most people have been using libraries only for studying. And we need to change that. So we started changing how we deliver services by introducing technology in libraries such as computers to access internet and free Wi-Fi. And we started introducing different programs that focus on digital content and training the communities on how to use the tools. So that has been particularly in City of Johannesburg since 2013, you know, when we introduced computers for people to access internet. Even though there are some challenges with connectivity, like in most municipalities, but I think we've had some great successes in changing the mindsets in terms of how libraries can be used in addition to studying and just reading books. That there's more to libraries. Modern libraries can provide more than just books to read and places to study.
This is absolutely fascinating because I'm hearing that there's a blend between what was traditional and what's been new.
Yes.
Is that why people like Tibelo are now spending so much time in libraries?
Yes.
Those that know you have whispered to me and they've told me that you're in the library an unhealthy amount of time.
Yeah.
What are you doing there for so long?
There's so much that is happening in the libraries these days. And like he had mentioned, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is also a huge component to our libraries. A lot of people come into our libraries wanting to have access to information, wanting to use our internet. And the fact that our internet is uncapped, you can do so much. You can be there the whole day doing your research. You can use our website. We have a website that we developed during the pandemic. It's www.cojelearning.org.za. So it's www.cojelearning.org.za. That website, if you visit it, we have e-learning tools on there. So you can learn online, you can learn at your own pace, you can learn electronically. We've uploaded help guides, articles, and it's always up to date. So if you go to the website today, we're heading for the June exams. So we've got articles on students how to learn, how to study methods, how to prepare yourself for June exams. So the more that you visit the library website, it is always updated, it is always in tune with what is going on with our community, what is going on in our society. And besides Internet of Things and things that are online, in our library we've got great books, we've got a great collection of books. So we've got people coming into our library, borrowing books, a lot of books, more books than you can imagine actually. So there's thousands of books that our library particularly issues monthly. So there's a lot going on in libraries. There's a lot to do. There's a lot that still needs to be developed, but we're definitely moving with the tune of transformation.
So So it sounds like there's a lot that people are wanting to access, and you guys
Yeah.
provide that access,
Yeah, for
right?
sure,
To
for sure.
e-learning, to internet, to books that otherwise people may not have access to.
To online reading, to audio books.
So tell me about the space, because for people like me, I hate to confess, who thought of libraries in the studying way that Jeff describes, what are the new access points for older people, perhaps people who have left school? What are those things that they can access? What is there to enjoy, and what is it that your space offers? For people beyond their studying.
Well, the first thing that I have to mention is that it is a safe space. Our libraries are safe spaces. I'm speaking for myself as a woman, and I'm speaking for on behalf of older women as well. Our libraries are safe. You can come into our library and feel safe. We have friendly staff that are always on hand, happy to assist you, happy to help you find a book, find your way around a library.
So you guys are not just the anomaly.
Oh, no.
Everyone is like that.
Yes, definitely. Everyone is like that. We've got study areas in our library. We've got some libraries are equipped with computer rooms where people can come into the library. And if you don't have a computer of yourself, or if you have a cell phone that is not particularly a smartphone and you need to be connected to internet and you need to know how to create a CV or you need to apply for a job, you're most welcome to walk into a library and use our facilities, use our internet, use our computers for things like that. So we've got most of our libraries are developing where we've got those rooms where you can walk in and see the digital transformation, see the computers. We've got tablets as well that most kids use. So a lot of these things are slow, but there's definitely, when you walk into a library, it's not the library that I'm pretty sure if you walk into a library today, there's a whole lot more transformation that has happened since the last time you visited libraries.
I have no doubt. Now, Jeff, you're speaking about change, and we're coming out of a global pandemic where, COVID changed things some more.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of powerful things that technology enabled people to cope with COVID. Are there any of those changes that we're seeing in libraries? What can we expect? If I went to a library kind of pre-COVID, what are the digital tools and tips that you have for me that I could access from a library, perhaps, that I might not know of?
Yeah. Just to add what she has just explained, before COVID, we had these classrooms, we call them e-learning classrooms, where we had computers for people to access, as she has explained. We had a few tablets that were donated that we used with the children, and people were not used to that. Some people, it was fascinating that they can go into the library and use a classroom. So we had to close those classrooms during COVID, and we are currently working on ways of reopening these classrooms, as she says, so that when you go back to your library, you'll be able to access. These are classrooms not in all libraries. We had like 10 to 12 of them, maybe 10, let's say just 10 classrooms in selected libraries. But what happened during COVID, it forced us to come up with ways of delivering services while people are at home. So we started by exploring our social media. We came up with a video series on our Facebook page. It's called Joburg Libraries, the Facebook page. And we produce video series, particularly to address the needs of senior citizens. We came up with some videos that talk about the apps that you can find for senior citizens to read, or for meditation, or for senior citizens to learn how to use technology. We even ran a competition called Teach Senior Citizens Digital Skills, which was a collaboration between a young person and an older person. So that we were teaching them how to use a gadget, how to find information using gadgets, so that when the time comes that maybe libraries have sufficient digital tools, these senior citizens are able to come into a safe space and use these tools. We do not have sufficient tools, I will admit that.
Yes.
As she's saying, it's a process. So I can't say guaranteed for sure you'll go to any library and find computers. It's a slow process, but we did start the process before COVID. So I would say our transformation started way before COVID. And when COVID came, it found us
Right, in the middle of
ready.
it,
You
right,
know,
yeah.
it found us ready. And like she also mentioned, us introducing digital platforms such as Facebook, we won an award. We won an international award with an NGO for public library innovation. And the money that we won from there enabled us to develop a website during COVID. This is the website that she's talking about. It allows young people and senior citizens to access information because you can translate it. Even though it's Google Translate, which is, not necessarily the best, but it is something because you are able to read in Sesotho or in Xhosa or in Zulu, which are the popular languages in Johannesburg. But more importantly, the content that we try to curate on that website is to address the needs of different age groups, the children, the senior citizens, and the adults.
So, talk to me a little about healthy aging, because this has started to come through in your previous answers. You were talking about an app for meditation. This healthy aging agenda and its linked digital technologies. In your curation space, in your curated spaces, what are some of the interesting things that are taking place there, or what might you point me in the direction of when I'm thinking about using digital technology for healthy aging?
Okay, for example, as I mentioned, what we try to do, because our role as librarians is to find content for you to use. We don't teach. So we try to draw that line that we are not teachers, we provide information, access to information. So what we do, we research to find which app I can tell the public about, which software we can invest in as a department. And then on top of that, she's from a branch, a library branch, so there are programs that are organized, and there are certain services as well that we got. For example, we've had a traditional service called for housebound, people who are housebound, where we would take a mobile bus to the old age homes and sometimes hospitals. It just depends on which municipality offers that. So I can't say for sure that all of those are available in the city of Johannesburg, but I'm talking broadly in libraries. They have those services. This is where you reach out to the senior citizens who are at home relaxed to bring them books. But now technology comes into play where if you cannot, during COVID, for example, you cannot get there with a bus, or it's social distancing, you cannot get to them. The idea is to invest in gadgets that you can loan out. We are not there yet. That's where we're hoping to get. You can loan out gadgets that are loaded with books. And you can use the website as well to encourage them to access some of these ebooks, because we've got there's an app called Overdrive, which the province subscribes to, and we also sometimes subscribe to if the agreement is still there. So that app, people can register and download books, borrow books, on the app. There's also an app called LibriVox, which is on our website under e-resources. It's an app where senior citizens can use audiobooks because some of them cannot read. So for me, it addresses those issues of healthy aging and giving them access to things that they can use from home, things that they can come to libraries and use with our help. So, and then in addition, is the
training tools to
yes,
use those things like such as tablets
Yeah.
or online reading and books. Because a lot of the senior citizens still need training. So it's a matter of, hence I said the friendly staff. It's a matter of a senior citizen walking into a library and number one, being comfortable because it is an environment that they're used to. It's books, it's paperback. But number two, being friendly staff also encourages senior citizens to ask questions when they see computers around us, when they see QR codes on the walls. It encourages them to ask questions. What is this QR code? In our libraries today, we're trying to go paperless. So if you walk into a library and you're not a member of the library, you would need membership. So there's two ways that we do our memberships. The second one is more implemented because of our senior citizens. But basically, you'd walk into a library and you'd scan a QR code, and the QR code would populate a membership form, and you'd fill that membership form in, and then you'd, after some days, receive your membership. So sometimes you'd have a senior citizen walk into the library, and it is an environment that they're obviously used to, but they are not expecting that to get membership. You'd have to pull out a smartphone, And then with that smartphone, you then connect to internet, task number 2, and task number 3, you then have to scan the QR code, wait for the form to populate. So it's about them walking into the library, us being open, offering the training that they need to use these services, how to use your smartphone, what is a QR scanner, how to use forms online, how to use Google Forms. So it's small bits of training that will help us when we start to develop and get those tablets. When they're at home, they will then remember the training that we've given them, how to use computers and stuff like that. So it's a lot of it is mostly training.
Yeah.
And preparing us.
And
for what's to
also,
come.
like she's mentioning training a lot, the key component of our what we call e-learning services in City of Joburg is digital literacy. And our digital literacy has been focused on youth and senior citizens. Reason being, the group in the middle, which is us, anyway, we have access to training, formal training. We have access to the tools at work, but the senior citizens are at home. So we started training in selected libraries. We had a wonderful program for senior citizens where we were training them on how to use computers, just basic computer skills. But after that, we trained them on writing, creative writing, so that they can write stories using the skills that they learned during the training. And we are actually working on publishing those stories. So it's actually a wonderful story. I wish we were to be publishing those stories today to celebrate this day. But Tebelo is doing a wonderful job as well in helping us edit those stories, because these are stories about their lives coming to Johannesburg, about their lives during the apartheid era, about their challenges in Johannesburg. But it showcases how technology helped them to write these stories. And it addresses healthy aging in a sense that if you've got a story to tell,
It gives you the voice.
it gives you the voice that if I die, City of Johannesburg would have published my story. Somebody will get to know the story. And on our website, we've got a page called Get Published. This is where we try to help aspiring authors, but that's where we will try to publish this particular book on these stories.
Sure. Quite a lot's been going on. I'm really liking a couple of things. I'm liking the fact that there's access to gadgets, access to tech, access to training, access to the ability to do things in an advanced way, access to be able to publish myself. I have access to all this curated content, which helps me with my healthy aging. You've focused on the youth and you've focused on older persons, which I think is a wonderful thing to bring together. I love that program about, getting a young person to teach an older one certain things. I've really enjoyed the fact that there are many, many things that you are doing to keep broadening the access. And we have noted that there is more that you continue to do. And I think that our viewers are going to get a sense of all the opportunities in the libraries, and they're going to want to get involved. So with all of that, and with all of that to be grateful for and to admire and to want to get involved with, I want to say thank you to you both for coming to share this wonderful space with us, and thank you for your relevance.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say the website again. The website is www.cojelearning.org.za. Please visit the website. If you're a young person watching this, tell your older person that, in each household there should be at least one senior citizen. And if there is, give them the helping hand, show them how to use their phone, show them how to use laptops, show them the website. And let's just one at a time, one step at a time. I think we're going to bridge that digital divide between the senior citizens and us.
Especially the digital literacy part. On the website, there are 3 different online courses, but particularly for senior citizens, the Microsoft digital literacy focuses on the basics, and they use cartoon type of training, which is easy
Very
for
simple,
someone.
very easy,
Very
yeah.
simple. So that all those links are accessible on the website.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I look forward to you using this wonderful service, and I can't wait to hear how the libraries are going to transform your relationship with digital technologies. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Welcome back to you, our viewers. The next panel, the next expert that we have for you is Aluana Chokwe. She's a national spokesperson for youth and ICT. She has some thoughts around the experience of youth on this Digital Technologies Day, and I'd like to exchange a couple of ideas with her now. Aluani, good morning.
Good morning, how are you? I'm not sure if I'm audible.
You're audible, thank you, and visible. Are you well?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. So,
Thank you for the invite.
digital technologies are often thought of as the preserve of the youth. But I realize that the more you start to interact with this and read about the things that are going on, that the youth still has some way to go, some ways in which they could be integrated in a better fashion into digital technologies. Can you give me a perspective on that?
Absolutely. I think I must first state that the World Bank has premised South Africa the most economically unequal society in the world. Now, this is driven by a number of factors and obviously the spatial planning. So, we are not even ready as a country to speak about inclusive technology as it relates to young people. And this is why. Um, the ICT experience that an ordinary young person has in South Africa is directly linked to where they stay, where they are born, and the level of education that they've received,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I can't even say we have opened an equalizing field for young people to play a significant role within the ICT sector because it is still very exclusionary in nature.
I see. So, I know that youth is a time of opportunity where we look at what is possible, what can be. And you know that young people have the energy and the drive and the ambition and the determination to go and change things. What opportunities are you seeing in terms of this digital inclusion? How might we bring these young people in? Are there kind of government interventions outside of the government realm? What can we encourage our communities to do? Can you give me a sense of how it is that we can reverse this pronouncement from the World Bank and make it a much more upbeat and far more optimistic pronouncement the next time they say something about us?
Okay, so it will first start with infrastructural development.
Yeah.
We need to encourage government to build infrastructure, even connectivity. I
Yeah.
mean, we can't speak about ICT when there's no connectivity. So we need to be greater advocates of ICT infrastructural development.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we also need to foster partnerships. Even though government is trying, I must commend government for trying
Uh-huh.
with their ESD programs, with these upskilling programs and these short courses. And I know that in particular instances, there's a time when they've partnered with Google South Africa
Yeah.
and also the Microsoft South Africa and the MTN Foundation to bring skills to society. However, even the private sector is actively trying to upskill the youth, but what then becomes a hurdle is that language then becomes a barrier in this sense.
I see.
I
I
cannot
see.
go, I as Alwani who received the level of education that I've received, and go try teach somebody in the Eastern Cape who's got the lowest levels of education, and then try to upskill them in a language that I best understand, but they don't.
Yep. Yep.
In respective provinces whereby we take ICT education. But overall, we need to foster public-private partnerships so that there's also going to be accountability and sustainability of the programs that are carried out. I mean, if government partners with, let's say, the MTN Foundation, and then we say government is putting in so much money and the MTN Foundation is putting so much money to incentivize the programs, and then at the end of the day, we also say we will put these particular graduates of this program into particular entities whereby they can directly and practically utilize the skills that they have.
Yep.
But most importantly, we need to attract infrastructural development so that we do away with the special planning. And look, they can no longer be seen as dormitories of labor, but how do we upgrade townships to also be participants of the digital economy? Let's take the digitized world to the townships.
Yeah.
Let's start by making sure that we have a lot of Centec towers or towers of broadband in Franco connectivity. We
Yeah.
need connectivity for them to be active participants and to also build that curiosity within them. We need to build stable internet connections. We need to build Wi-Fi or broadband or fiber connected homes in society so that those that have means or access to devices can also start being curious, like a
Yep.
little child will be curious. They
Yep.
take a phone and then they discover a game.
Yep.
You never know what a young person can that has the means or the access.
And what are the big opportunities that you're hoping the curious young people who are able, let's say, to make it to a library that has free connectivity or makes it to one of the Tswane free Wi Fi spots and they have a gadget and the connectivity aspects continue to improve in some of the projects that you've mentioned? What are you hoping that they discover? What are you hoping that they can move forward to obtain?
Okay, so before I answer that, so in 2016, when they had just reconnected the city of Johannesburg Wi-Fi, I think
Yeah.
it went online around 12 a.m. And a study was done to determine what people were doing the minute it was introduced, and it found that 70% of them were on websites looking for jobs.
Yeah.
So we do not necessarily have the full comfort to explore what connectivity will do for us, because what is immediate is looking for a job, looking for a job, looking for a job.
Yeah.
However, look, um, uh, the beauty about it as well is that there are opportunities. I
Yeah.
mean, you find Chinese companies online saying they're looking for South Africans that know English to
Mhm.
teach their children English. So you can actually connect via your cell phone and teach a child in China English. You can be on social media and um, market a brand, and then you get paid for it. You get
Yeah.
incentivized for it. You can even do surveys online and enter competitions. But majorly, people, the South African youth do not have the comfort to be creative when they get access to the internet. I think of major importance would be, let me look for a job.
Yeah.
So we also need to first address the issue of uh, jobs being available,
Yeah.
simultaneously as developing the particular skills for the jobs that they want.
Uh-huh.
However, we also need to nurture their creativity. Perhaps then we should now reconsider even incorporating into the curriculum to say, let's put technology as early as grade one, because I think we do technology as a subject from grade four. So
Uh-huh.
but now let's move away from technology, speaking about all the industrial revolutions that have passed that will no longer now be relevant.
Yeah.
But now let's answer the question of South Africa and Africa has played a spectacular role in the epochs of 1G to 3G
Yeah.
and within all the industrial revolution. What is it that we can do now to
Uh-huh.
make sure that we also become active participants? So let's also put it in the curriculum.
So there's two things I'd like to explore. I like your example about the fact that young people are looking for jobs. I think it's critically important, especially in our society. I also like that you hit on a point that teaching English in China is something that digital technologies allows you to do that might not otherwise be possible if digital technologies were not available. So I think that that's one thing. If you had some advice for some of the youth that are able to get to the city of Joburg free Wi-Fi and look for jobs, what are the tips and tricks there? And then also, if I was somebody here who was part of the private sector, who was part of a foundation, part of government, who's listening and wants to get involved in overturning some of the challenges that the youth are facing, what other prescriptions would you suggest outside of making sure that jobs are available?
Tricky question, very tricky, but I'm happy that you asked that particular question. Look, for us to make society work, we also need to put in the work.
Yeah,
For instance, let's say I
I
am
like
a
that.
Ali and specialization is this? And I ask myself, what is it that I can do to better the life of the next person? Look, I'm in ICT. I'm in a position of saying to companies, hi, I'm from Intavazo in the Free State, and I've identified so many young people who are not doing anything. Can we look into an incentivized good thing? Actually, government also incentivizes training of young people in the private sector. For
Yep.
instance, I can take as Aluanicho Incorporated, let's say I'm an IT company, and I'm approached by someone to say, please take these 30 young people. I'm actually able to go to government and say, hi, Sasita, incentivize me. I've taken so many young people, and you speak about skills development as much as it is part of my CSRR. So we need to be active participants in the development of the country. Look, it's not something that we can put to government to do, but we also need to do our part. Government
I,
will work if we put in the work as well. And also, I think there's an issue of willingness. For instance, if I mention teaching English in China through the internet, one would say, hi, why would I do that? So we also have
but
these neoliberal stereotypes that also hold us back. And I think that is something that we also need to change. And the psychology, one person says to me last week, we as
uh,
the youth have a problem of entitlement. We are entitled and we are expecting to be given. And look, to a certain extent, I had to
uh,
agree, even though at that moment in time I could not agree. I never want to be wrong.
yeah.
I denied it, but I think we also need to be active participants in our development.
Aluani, I think that that's a great sentiment to pause on. Unfortunately, it's time for our next discussion, but it's been very, very refreshing to understand the opportunities, to see what work needs still to be done, and I appreciate all of your thoughts and insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. All right. Who's next? Matapela's surname? Mzizi. Yeah, okay. Welcome back to you, our viewers. The next expert that I have a chance to speak to is Matapelo Mzizi. She joins us now from Stockholm, and I'm excited to hear what her insights are from where she sits. Matapelo, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Such a joy to be here.
Yeah, very. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, you are somebody who works at one of the big technology companies, and a day like this, when we're talking about digital technologies, I'm very excited to hear your perspectives from the role of one of the big companies shaping technology today. So you're at Ericsson, and I thought that this would give you a unique vantage point into the things that large technology companies are doing to accommodate older persons and also to kind of drive this idea of healthy aging. What are you seeing from your point of view from these two vantage points? So from a corporate point of view, how are you seeing the integration of older persons?
Yeah, I think that's a very important topic that I think we actually, to be honest, we don't talk about it quite often because we focus a
Sure.
lot on young people, but
Yeah.
then we forget that young people at some point as well, they're going to be part of the aging population.
Indeed.
And if we look at the statistics, for an example, according to the United Nations, by 2050, more than 31% of the world's population will be age 60 and over, which is, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But the aging population, if you think about it, they also require solution, and we can't ignore them because they play a critical role in society.
Mhm.
And technology as well is supporting in that regard. For an example, when it comes to wellness from healthcare to aging sign um, to risk factors of diseases.
Yeah.
But if you apply technology such as artificial intelligence, you're able to detect these challenges or these diseases at an early phase. And that's the role really of technology, and where we really see the benefits of technology, even with young people as well,
Yeah.
with the wearables, you know.
Yeah.
I think a majority of people, they have Apple or smart watches
Watches. Yeah.
where they're able to track and monitor their wellness, and that is done through technology and connectivity.
So this is such a fascinating thing because, as you mentioned, things like telemedicine are a thing now that are a reality, where we can do all sorts of medical services and bring them to a much wider population, and not just the aging, not just the older persons, as you were saying, but also people who are needing to age better and age well. Are there any programs? Are there any opportunities? Are there any kind of thrusts that you can see from a corporate point of view that might allow us to, kind of join in and to make these progress further? I ask this because we've just been speaking to people who are in the youth side of things, and they were looking for opportunities to get in and to join in and to move, digital technologies further as, some that helps older persons.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because that comes from the designing of the solutions.
Yep.
And I'm really passionate about inclusive innovation as well. That
Yep.
when we design solutions, we're not only designing solution through just one lens, but
Yep.
through multiple lenses, looking at a low cost solution or affordability of all different people from different economic background.
Yep.
So access to healthcare solution is also important, the usability, and also thinking of digital skills. Because then if you look at um, the advanced market where there's a lot of digitally literate um, population versus with us in the continent where digital literacy is still I think even the previous speakers, they spoke about the digital barrier, and
Yep.
it is there. But I think if we, from the onset, from designing solutions, and we think about usability and accessibility for different population, that would be absolutely beneficial. But more and more as well, we're seeing that seniors are more connected to the internet more than ever, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
And I think even with the pandemic, we've seen that in as much as even young people, we have been tackling isolation and loneliness. The seniors as well have experienced that even more. It hit them even harder, you know.
Yeah.
So what can we do from connectivity point of view, from technology point of view, to make sure that we address those elements.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think that that's a really good conversation to pick up with the remainder of the experts that I get a chance to speak to this morning. I think that you've provided us some very valuable insights. The idea that there is there are things from the COVID pandemic that we still need to deal with. The loneliness, for example, that you're talking about, the fact that the world is moving much more towards a much more aged population, as you pointed out statistically. And I'm hoping that we can use all of this technology that we have at our disposal to arrive at a better aging process and to make the world a better place. So I appreciate your insights and I appreciate your comments. And I hope to speak to you again soon.
No, absolutely. And I think very much thank you for this really important conversation. But I think just to wrap up as well, I think it's important that we ensure that connectivity is a critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we shouldn't ignore that. And I think the different players need to secure that we have connectivity to be able to design these wearable solution, also helping different intergeneration also, but
Sure.
also looking into the benefits of the larger society, because the UN SDG 3 is focusing on ensuring healthy lives, promoting the well-being not only of the
Sure.
seniors but of all ages.
Sure.
And yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's just been an honor really participating in this.
Matapelo, I have hope. There are lots of connectivity people that we get a chance to speak to today. You, chief amongst them. There are other players as well from different perspectives. So I'm very, very optimistic, and I'm looking forward to how this connectivity divide might be bridged. I appreciate your thoughts there.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Welcome back. Much has been said about connectivity, and I'm very, very pleased to introduce you to Sigran Naidu. He is somebody with a company called Broadband Infraco. If ever anyone has got some ideas around connectivity, somebody who has broadband in their company name should be someone with insights and a whole lot of help. So will you please draw your attention to the insights that Sigran has to share with us. Sigran, good morning.
Good morning to Hastings, and good morning to the panel. It's really a privilege and a pleasure to be here on this panel to share with you some thoughts today on your topic of old age and digital technologies.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure that you've heard much about the issue of connectivity. I thought that this might be a good place to start. I know that someone like you works a lot in the field of connectivity. Could you give us a sense of, the strides and, even the challenges that exist in the world of connectivity?
Yeah, today, you see, ICT can, potentially support older adults in making decisions and, increase their involvement and participation in the developing knowledge-based economies of the world.
Yep.
Although the range of technical products has expanded in various areas of society,
Yep.
the knowledge is lacking on the influence that ICT has on the older adults, in the decision making in everyday solutions.
I see.
And aging technology basically is aimed at providing services to an ever-growing number of older people. Are they helping people keep connected, active, and being cared for?
Yep. I see. And in terms of all of these opportunities that exist to give older persons access to the range of benefits that you described, what are the things that you think we might still need to do to introduce more and more older persons to the products and services that are available to them in a connected world?
One of the things is to, when we look at developing products, especially and services, is to take care of the needs of the old age. I mean, when you're at a stage, we talk about the digital divide, but speaker, you might know that, when you're older, getting older like myself, you get something called the gray divide, and, older people have severe visual impairments. They have severe hearing limitations. We heard earlier on the colleagues from the library, Joburg Library,
Yes.
speak about online reading. We have to develop now electronic readers, devices that have larger fonts, devices that are going to be more practical and user friendly to this aging community, so that they can be readily acceptable and be of use to them.
Absolutely. I'm so encouraged by the fact that there is so much out there. Certainly for somebody like myself who did not know that there were this many interventions. You know what I mean? That you speak about. Audiobooks for people who are visually impaired, devices that have larger fonts, the ability to encourage healthy aging through apps that encourage movement and meditation. One of the things that we had a conversation about earlier, which I'd like you to comment on, was the idea of a more democratic access to these services. I know that the young lady we spoke of, Aluani Choko, was talking about how these might be more accessible in places like townships, as an example. Could you give me a sense as to what you think the state of connectivity is now, and how you think that we might better connect with it, and what we might do to maybe advance it a little more? Hi, Sigrid.
Are we back online?
We are indeed. I can hear you loud and clear.
You're on mute, Stacey.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
Sorry if you can just repeat your question. I got some bits of it, but I think the connectivity was giving us a problem.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think that you're talking about the gray divide and you're talking about this digital divide. And I know that you're on the on the frontier of winning the connectivity battle. And I know that there are some places that are better served with connectivity than others. Can you give me a sense of what you think the state of connectivity is? Is there anything that we might not know? And also, what can we do to better connect with the connectivity that exists at the moment?
Okay, no, thank you for that question. I think, I think you sort of, Mr. Speaker, are hitting the nail on the head. The thing is, when we talk about, being part of this digital economy and inclusive, there is a big part of it that is very, exclusive. If you look at the wider geographic area of South Africa, and this has its roots in discrimination and everything else, and the wide geography of South Africa. But as my company, as part of its drive together with government to address some of these needs, has identified 8 disadvantaged districts, and we have started providing connectivity to facilities, basically to schools and to the clinics, to sort of increase that. One of the other projects is, and one of the key projects that government is rolling out is the SA Connect project. And one of the lead players is Broadband Integral, together with other department state-owned entities. So we are trying to address this growing divide and provide connectivity so that these communities can then get an opportunity to be part of this digital economy, and then so get access to connectivity and all the knowledge-based services that we speak about, in this forthcoming fourth industrial revolution.
Well, Sigrid, strength to your elbow. I really wish you all of the best. I know that when you talk about things like telemedicine and the fact that you're rolling out connectivity in clinics, these things bode well for having more people included in this really, really vital piece of infrastructure for our economy in our age. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I appreciate your insight.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome back. It's been a fascinating discussion. We've spoken about so many things on this World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. We've spoken about connectivity, the role of the youth. We've spoken about what this connectivity is used for. We've spoken about surprising and integrated places and spaces like libraries, the various services that they have for us. And now I'd like to shift gears and to talk about the exciting world of gaming. I have with me Clive and Takatso, who are both game developers. And beyond entertaining us, I thought that we would try and look at this from the angle of digital opportunity, and they can tell us about the world of gaming, how the youth can be integrated, what jobs are like, and if they really are playing or if they really are working when they leave the house in the morning. Clive, I think that this is something that you should take.
Honestly, we are playing. Even here, it's been a bowl of a time. The whole gaming industry, we've started the whole journey since high school.
Yeah.
We started creating games from 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
By the time we were about grade 11, grade 12.
Yeah.
So even the journey of starting and going into gaming, I remember the specific day we were playing FIFA and we were playing Call of Duty. We're like, but what if we created our own FIFA?
Yeah.
Or what if we created our own specific game? And I think it also speaks to how the question was talk about how youth can get integrated into this. I think a lot of people wonder how you can actually start, or people assume that it's difficult to start. It's not that difficult to start. The only difficulty is the opportunities and the funding that you need for actually going inside the gaming industry.
Okay.
Because when we started with our first game, which was called ANC Apocalypse. And the reason why
So what apocalypse?
ANC Apocalypse.
ANC
Not
Apocalypse.
ANC, just A and C.
Oh,
Apocalypse.
okay.
We played with the wording.
This
As I said, we play a lot.
No.
We played with the wording specifically to get that attention.
It's an important clarification. I'm glad.
No affiliation with any other organization or anything out there, but yeah, we played specifically with the wording to get the attention, and so we can actually start selling the PC copies, so we can get the funding to create more games and buy more equipment, so we can actually scale up our businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hear you saying to encourage youth to get into gaming, let them play FIFA and Call of Duty. Is that
Let them play.
Is that
The whole point of it
Okay.
is let them play, because I think a
Alright.
lot of people take the whole industry. I know the IT industry is a very big industry, but people take it too seriously.
Okay.
And I think that's the whole reason why we thought we're crazy enough to think that we can make it. And I think that's the whole point of it. If you're crazy enough to think that you can actually start and making games, you can actually do it.
Takatso, tell me.
Yeah,
Takatso, tell me about this, right? Because there are a lot of nervous viewers now. They're like, they've invited us here to talk about digital opportunities, and they said we must just let people play games. Connectivity is limited, data is expensive. What are these boys on about? Give me a perspective here about what is it in the commercial opportunity side of gaming that you see as worthwhile letting people just play.
In this one, I would say that you know what, gaming gaming is a very big thing. Okay, so all I'm gonna say is that people that when it comes to commercials and everything, I think gaming is pretty big when it comes to that. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but yeah, gaming is pretty big when it comes to that. Like, especially.
I just wanted to weigh in on this one.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to that, the one thing that also helped us a lot was the Rage Expo, which was cancelled during the COVID times. Well, the Rage Expo was also one of the reasons how we actually were able to connect with other companies and actually start collaborating on the games we started. Was even with ANC Apocalypse, the whole expo made it way huge. It was everybody, when they saw the poster, they started laughing. They wanted to ask what's happening. Was the main character at that time was I don't want to name his name, but I think he's quite known.
Okay.
Former president.
Yeah, former president. Yeah, we'll just stick with that. So the whole commercial side of it, that's the whole point. The whole commercial side of it was selling the PC games. Was our games currently are on Google Play and PC.
Okay.
So even with that, with Google Play, they're all currently free. So free to download it. But then on the PC side, that's when we sold it for 200 and 250.
Awesome. Okay. And so I'm so interested, right?
Yes.
In the sense that now you've got a game. You needed some skills, right? You said something about funding, equipment. You've got Rage Expos and all of these types of things. Tell me a little about that world. Like, so I've started. I've gone to my Joburg library. I've used uncapped data.
Yes.
I've played all of my games.
Yes.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah.
From that point about interest to
Actually
getting to the
starting
place
to
where you
make
have
it,
an ANC apocalypse starring a former president who shall not be named. How do
Yeah.
we get from there to here?
I wanna be honest on this one. In terms of the education we had in terms of IT, we were taught Delphi, which
Okay.
wasn't the mainstream coding platform or anything
Alright.
of that. Was the coding language we use is usually Java, C++, and C#.
Okay.
So with the unlimited Wi-Fi, I'm pretty sure that you could do what we did, which was start watching YouTube videos of Unreal Engine and actually start teaching yourself, because we taught ourselves. Because in school we did IT.
So hang on. Taka, to tell me something here. You just had connectivity, went onto YouTube, learned Delphi.
No, not Delphi. Delphi was taught in school.
Ah,
but
okay,
then, But
okay.
then the main programming languages that are currently used, it's Java, C#, and C++.
Okay.
Yeah. In
So-
high school they taught us Delphi.
Okay, in high school it taught
Yeah.
you Delphi.
And only from grade 10.
Only from grade 10.
Yes.
All right. So how much of education would you say came from the internet, and how much of that would you say came from school?
I want to be honest and say most of it came from the internet.
All right.
Yes. Because
How
the whole-
important though is the school start? Like,
I think
would you have been able, right, to go and find Unreal Engine and do all of those things if you didn't have a start at school in terms of programming?
I think it helped us in terms of getting through the door, but it didn't help us for the long run.
Okay.
Because the whole point of the system that it taught us, it has limitations to it. Because it's better to give a child in school the whole program, a whole platform, so they can be creative instead of limiting them to a certain language that can only do certain things. If
Okay.
now I teach you maybe Python or maybe a different programming language that you know specifically that is only limited to a certain level, it also limits you in your creativity in terms of you can't go further in terms of what you can do because you're limited to what you're taught at that moment.
All right. So here's what I'm interested in. We spoke now to a whole range of things. Connectivity being one thing. That when people get connectivity, they're looking for jobs. Seemingly, from what I hear, you guys have got a job in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Certainly, it sustains you. You're able to buy more games, and I'm not sure gamers seem to buy even
The
more
PlayStation
games.
5.
And
I'm
yeah.
able to buy the PlayStation 5.
Right?
For everyone who loves console, they know how much that costs. So They
Exactly.
know it's quite hefty.
So you guys are playing games, making games in order to buy more games. All right. So like, look, no judgment here. You can do whatever you want to do
Yeah.
with your hard-earned gains. But I think it's an important thing because this seems like a big field. You were mentioning that this is now a massive field. We've spoken at least about, there's lots of other things like the Rage Expo and these things that connect to other companies and funding. How do we get more people into this field? There are lots of people, I'm sure, who are also saving up for PS5s, buying games for PS4s, you know what I mean? Playing online games wherever they might be. How do we get them exposed to what is they need to do? How do they connect? How do they hook in? How do they create the next apocalypse? There's more than one political party,
Yes,
name
yes,
to be commercialized. I think. How do you get that? How do you get that done? Give me a sense of what you suggest to people to get you to the place where they involved in gaming.
On that thing, I would say that it's really all about passion. If you love gaming, if you love games, if you love playing games, mostly I go with PC. I don't know about the console, but I love PC games. I'm a PC gamer. So it's all about the passion, you understand? So if you're passionate enough to want to do it, I think it's not impossible. You can do it.
Yeah.
There's free internet, as you said. There's free everything. You can just go onto the internet and learn what you want to learn. It's not something that's let me not say it's fun. Yeah, that's how I can put it.
Give me 3 helpful tips. Here I sit.
Yeah.
I've got the internet. Like playing games. Give me 3 things to do.
I think the first thing, research. You have the internet. The first thing you should do is research.
Okay.
Because with that knowledge you have on the internet, you have billions and billions of people out there who are willing to help you, who are willing to show. There's thousands and thousands in terms of tutorials, in terms of programming. There's even free coding that you can get out there and could copy it and maybe tweak it there and there for your programs.
Okay.
The second thing I say you're gonna take a lot of time. It's gonna need passion. The way you said, it's gonna take a lot of time. Because with us, even when we started, our first few games were Yeah, wow, well, were quite shocking. Even when we look back, it was like, damn, okay, that's just terrible. You need the time. You need to actually, you won't start today and make your first game today. You won't start today and
Yeah.
become the next Mark Zuckerberg. You won't start today and make your next Twitter or your Snapchat or anything of that sort. To get to a certain level, a certain scale of such apps or any game, it takes a lot of time and passion to it. The third
It's
tip.
disappointing. I thought I was going to be a millionaire by the time this is ended.
Yeah, you see, We've been in this from 2014. I think
Yeah.
we'd be millionaires by now
It's
for the
more than
amount of
7
time we
years
spent.
now.
And
It's
the
the 8.
yeah,
actually, yeah.
exactly. So even with the third tip, I'd say you need unfortunately you need the proper tech for this. Was in with the engine we're currently using, and it's about like 32 gigs of RAM, and just RAM alone is expensive. So even with that, that's why we focus on making sure we get the right PCs, we get the right tech that we have in place. Because if you're gonna come with a small tech, it might actually be costly or might damage your computer. Because the programs that we're running, imagine you're using a program to create a program.
Yeah.
So imagine the amount of capacity that needs.
See. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here you have it. People who play for a living and they're trying to convince us that it's work. I'm sure that you'll hear a little more about it later. But for now, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your at least your provocation to let you play games.
Yes.
I'm not sure that everyone's on board, but it's something for people to hear.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thank you very
Thank you so much.
their take or oh the chemistry. Oh the chemistry. You see this thing fell off. I tried to tell you guys that this thing was not on properly.
Welcome back to you, our viewers. What interesting conversation I have for you in the next segment. I have with me the CEO of ABT, Mr. Tulankuman. Welcome, sir.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. So I understand that you are the mastermind of putting this conversation together, and what a big conversation it is, right? Digital technologies, healthy aging, older persons. Lots of powerful technology, lots of great ideas. Tell me what it is that you had in mind when you thought that we should have this conversation.
Look, it's exceptionally large, and you know, we have a saying around here that we are who we are because we stand on the shoulders of giants. Really, you know, the World Telecommunications and Information Society Day stems from an initiative, you know, by the UN, of course, as we all know, and what we always try to do is put together work from the UN, the African Union, and I mean, by extension, when I say the United Nations, of course, it's the International Telecommunications Union, the folks in NEPID. There's a lot of work that happens in pockets of excellence, and I dare not say silos because that can be it can have very negative connotations. But there's excellent work that happens in pockets around Africa, around emerging markets, and we really try to bring all of that together. So we were not going to let this opportunity pass us by.
So this bringing things together has been such a big theme this morning, right? And I've been so fascinated, right? What you've brought together are people who are, you know, senior executives and people who are kind of game developers, right? You've brought together youth, you've brought together people who are older, you're talking about all of these diverse groups. What is this bringing together? How can we get involved? What are you hoping we can ignite and achieve with, you know, such a wide confluence of things? Because I've got to tell you, I've enjoyed learning about all of these things. I didn't know they existed beforehand. I'm going to visit a library after this as an example. Tell me about the things that you're looking forward to. What is in the offing?
So, I mean, the world is enormous, and really, you've got creators like, you know, the gaming folks and all sorts of people that like just work in their respective corners. And if you are sitting alone in your corner, you may think, actually, the world is too big for me. I'm just gonna roll over and like pass out. But really, when you merge what we do around here, we put together like e-learning systems, learning management systems, and you've got the folks from the libraries which use these learning systems and well, LMS, learning management systems. They use them to reach communities. So you've got folks that create, you've got folks that consume, you've got folks that even by extension distribute. And the collaboration is not just a buzzword. Collaboration is a huge thing for the emerging markets, even really like industrialized markets. Collaboration is so big, it takes your little and my little, and it makes it a lot. We're able to scale. We're able to, grow our businesses, impact society a lot better. So collaboration, cross-collaboration, co-collaboration, those are not just buzzwords. You hear them. I mean, in the financial sector, there's a lot of talk around cross-collaboration because you must upsell and you must cross-sell. So that is evident in every last sector. So in the world of scaling, of course, and scaling is a big thing. It's exceptionally important. And I always give the example of salt. World War I, there was a shortage of salt. And today we've got excess salt. You buy a packet of anything and it's got excess salt. And if you're trying to add more salt in there, you're just probably going to end up with bad health.
Yeah, it's not a recipe for healthy aging.
It really isn't. It really isn't.
Yeah.
But it stems from scaling.
Yeah.
And that's all we ought to be doing. And you don't have to do it on your own. You've got executives that understand that we don't have it all figured out. Quite interestingly, I've seen a lot of executives leave corporate and they want to be startups.
Yeah.
And that's the world that we live in because they understand that the small are eating the big with this fourth industrial revolution.
Yep. No, sure. I'm not getting distracted about, eating the big and adding salt to them. I wanted to... There still is this idea of impact, right? Because one of the things that I'm starting to see is that, if you've done this any length of time like I have, you know what I mean? There are a lot of things that we used to speak about in the future tense. And today we've spoken about them in the present tense. And yes, there's stuff that we also want to do, but there's also a lot of impact that's taken place. You know what I mean? So we actually have 2 young black gamers who are in it. We have people who are like, our state infrastructure like libraries provides safe space for access. It allows you to train. It allows you to do all of these things. And in many ways, you at ABT are people who are making these things happen in market. There are people who are making calls today that didn't do so before. They have connectivity today that didn't have yesterday. So as somebody who is playing this game, right, of impact using this powerful technology, what are you most excited about? What are the successes we don't see? You know what I mean? Because I'm encouraged by the things I've heard, but also what are the things that we still need to aim for? What are the things we still need to get to? You know what I mean, give me a sense of those.
Very interesting question because it's easy to look at us as an example and say, the folks at ABT have so much fun. They create systems, they create solutions, and they have fun with them, and they just tinker with these things, which is true. And while that is true, it remains critical, and in when people talk about something being critically important, that repetition is really for emphasis. It is critical that we build proper systems. You can have like the best idea in the world, but if you don't have proper governance and you don't have proper systems and procedures, you're a little like a person who won the lottery last year and has nothing to show for it this year. It will happen.
Yep.
So it's imperative that while we focus so much on our craft, we still build these systems. These guys are young, but they're gamers. Do they understand that they are doing the same thing that, say, Bill Gates was doing a couple of years ago with Xbox? Xbox Live was designed.
Well, Elon Musk sold his first game for $500, so I'm taking their numbers. I don't want them to forget me when when they get to $200 billion.
Exactly, and they're not playing in a small space. Pardon the irony, but like they're really not messing with small stuff.
Yeah.
The gaming sector is enormous, and they are playing in a Bill Gates type of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So all of these things have come together, right? We're going to have a panel discussion now where I'd love to see how all of these dots, because we've spoken so much about collaboration, we've spoken about bringing these together, you've spoken about the fact that the world is enormous and that gaming in itself is a massive space. Here we all play, you know. How can we play better together? Look into the future and tell me how it is that we can all make this, all the benefits that we have here, all of the things. What can we do to make sure that we're all benefiting and making an even bigger impact?
Look, depends on your appetite, and the beauty of, say, entities and organizations that they morph and they change, and they get new executives and leaderships, etc. That comes in and influences the thing. In fact, I remember just last year, we we had a meeting with a CEO from a really large telco, and he's a new CEO, and he really wants the retail market. The previous CEO didn't care for retail market. In fact, he took that business, scrapped it, and said, "I don't want to sell a single thing to a consumer. I just want to do business to business." The new CEO comes in and says, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to build the strategy. We're really going to go for the consumer market. This stuff looks really hot." So that change, someone else may view it as disruptive, but thank the heavens that the term disruption has become so positive over at least the last, say, 10 years. So that change and that disruption is really key for genuine development, genuine growth, high impact. If I must tell you, my personal perspective when I look into the 8 ball of the future, which is quite dangerous, right? Don't quote me. When I look into the 8 ball of the future, I understand that, the ICT sector is a $3 trillion sector. Business to business or enterprise is a $2.7 trillion market. Consumer market is a $250 billion market. Now that's fantastic. So if you're really into making phones and routers and all that fun stuff that folks, can use in their communities, etc., and there are people like that, and there's a place for them under the sun, those people will impact, Gogo Dlamini, how she gets her pension, how the kids, interface with their education at school, how folks are traveling, the kind of information that we're consuming is changing fundamentally because of everyone's niche. So your retail focus might be really good for the community.
Yep.
At the same time, my enterprise focus really impacts society in a really hot way, because then we put up a tower. Nobody really cares. They just see this large pole in the middle of, the area, and the fact is now you've got better connectivity. Of course, the telcos will buy and the ISPs will buy those services, but the fact remains that we also have a hand in impacting, say a child's education, how someone gets, healthcare. So looking into the 8 ball of the future, we will all collaborate and we'll all cross collaborate, whether we know it, like it, or even, whether we even like each other. Doesn't matter. We're all going to just do things that will move society forward, which is absolutely incredible. So, I mean, the jobs are changing.
Yeah.
If someone was worried and said, oh man, technology is just going to take all our jobs, well, truth is, the jobs are morphing. So as they morph, we need to be okay with it.
I had a conversation with Clive. He told me if you just let me play FIFA and Call of Duty, I'll be well on my way to a new, career in gaming. So I'm gonna apply for that when this is over.
Exactly. That's exactly how jobs are morphing. If in fact, if you asked my parents about the work that I do,
Yeah.
or anyone in my family, they will. I mean, they have no idea. They just like look at me funny. They think I tinker with polls and nonsense, and just like play on my laptop all day. So jobs are really morphing. There's your namesake who is here in the office, and he says, "My goodness, I really didn't want to be a chartered accountant. I just wanted to use my hands to do stuff all the time. But now you find that as a chartered accountant, he's using his hands in a different way because he's messing around in sectors like agriculture, using his finance background. So, yeah.
So, final thoughts from you. Here we sit, we come together annually, right? This is the 53rd installment of this, World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. Reflect for me on where we are now and the things that you hope for the future. Next year, when we sit here, what would you like to have seen? What would you like to have achieved?
You see, that reflection is a bit tough because it doesn't start here or last year or any of the events that we've had. In fact, quite frankly, I always think about the giants that came before us. In this country. I mean, only a blind person would, and blind to the facts, right, would think, we are competing. Nobody's competing. The CEO of Vodacom is one of the most seasoned ICT folks that we have in the country. I think about him. I think about, Irene Shanley, and I think about Andile Ngaba. I think about my late father Muzi Makai. I think about Vusi Ndlovu from Tinte. Those folks built a platform from a research perspective. They built a platform where you and I can do whatever we want to do. Like, we can start a fintech company like this evening. We can start a fintech company this evening, go to market before the end of the month. 13 days, that's hot. We can go to market before the end of the month, impact society, and not even have to put our names to that. So I really think about the people that came before us, and I'm exceptionally grateful for them. They don't like to talk to us too much. They think we're impatient. They think we're impatient, and that's okay.
I can help you with those timelines. Fintech business can start next month, and it can go to market 3 months later. Starting this evening and getting to market in 13 days is going to lose you.
Are you busy?
Friends.
Are you busy this evening? And I really do think about those folks, and I think about where we are now, because that research and development platform that all of these folks built for us in terms of policy, legislation, and all of that guidance means today I can be in dev, you can be in product dev, the next person can be in finance. We never need to meet. We'll all put together the same solution that's going to impact millions of people, or even billions of people, and that's what we want to do. So, that's how we're going to bridge this digital divide. The digital divide, it doesn't need like a magic wand, and it definitely doesn't need folks to like meet, like each other, and like hug. Thank the heavens for for the regulations that we have, so we can't even shake hands. But we're not going to bridge the digital divide by meeting and meeting about meeting. We really are going to bridge it by you producing what you need to do in your corner of the world, um, you know, and me doing the same. So if I'm able to provide connectivity on industrial scale, and gamers are able to enjoy all of that connectivity, they don't need to know me. Quite frankly, I also don't need to know them. We're all just doing what we need to do in the world. I mean, the metaverse is like changing the game. Um, you know, just virtual reality. I think about virtual reality and how our kids are going to be exposed to career expos. We do our career expos every year, in the week of June 16. But the way that our kids are going to be exposed to those career expos is fundamentally different. They're just going to put on a virtual reality headset, and they're going to be a doctor for a day. They're going to be a nurse for an hour. They're going to be an accountant for the next 3 hours. So we're seeing greater scale in our exposure to the world, and that helps all of us impact the world better. I mean, I have a neighbor who said this. His son says, "Oh yeah, I made quite a lot of money off NFTs." At the time, I didn't know what NFTs were. This was like 4 months ago, and I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, I just sold this painting for 14 million rands," and I said, "Is your son okay?" Like, he just said 14 million rands. And he's like, "Yeah, my 14-year-old boy just like made 14 million rands." So the world is changing, and we need to be part of that change. But we especially need to make sure that folks that are, the lowest of the lowest, if you will, in terms of, you know, income levels, we need to make sure that we bring the poorest up as fast as possible. Don't leave anybody behind. That's what closing this digital divide means to me. I mean, the ITU made sure that this year it's about aging and bringing digital technologies to the older folks. And I thought that's funny because in Africa, like 75% of the folks are really young.
Yep. I think that's where the healthy aging comes in. They're like, well, the 16-year-olds in Africa still are going to have to think about this aging thing for the next 80 years.
Yeah, that's productivity on another level.
Yeah. But I think that it's been a pleasure to hear your reflection on the people that have come before us, the platform they've given us, the ways in which you're going to be engaging the youth in the future, and I'm excited to see all of that. And I appreciate your thoughts, and I appreciate your time, and I wish you all of the success in doing things, tinkering on your laptop, playing with polls, not meeting gamers, but providing them with services that can scale and hit 1 billion people.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. Okay, now it's time for the panel. So you stay here, right? No panel. No?
Like, this man is a machine. Like,
I've got a more or less hardish stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you'll agree with me that it's been a fascinating morning of conversation. One of the things, though, that I think we needed to pick up on is the health implications of this powerful digital technology. I saw some, raised eyebrows when the gamers amongst us suggest that sitting and playing games is a really healthy way to approach the issue of aging. I thought that what I would do is I would give them the first say in how it is that things like gaming can help us with healthy aging. And I would like to hear from our panel of experts, people who have got a high degree of exposure and a lot of expertise to share with us and how we might make our aging process healthier using digital technologies. But to the playful amongst us,
Yes.
talk to us about the health implications of gaming. How healthy is it? How will it cause you to age?
In terms of the health implications, I'd want to focus on one thing, and I'd want to focus on something that has touched me personally. I think throughout the entire show, you've seen I feel like I'm quite a bubbly person, but I wasn't like that at first. Because gaming, what allowed me, through gaming, it allowed me to express myself. It allowed me to actually become more free. Because in high school, I was quite the shy kid. I was quite the nerd. I'd be the outsider, the loner. But through gaming, I was able to find my happy place. It honestly helped me to avoid depression and going through roads that I honestly thought I'd go through, starting drugs or marijuana or anything like that. Gaming was my escapism. It was my way to escape the harsh realities of high school that I was able to face.
All right. So it gave you some mental health and it gave
gave
you
me-
an escape.
It gave me. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, yeah.
Guys, from your point of view?
From my point of view, I would say that gaming actually. Wait, should I talk about myself? How it helped me?
You can.
It helped me better with my eyesight actually. I used to have a really bad eyesight. I used to wear glasses and everything, and it actually helped me really bad. Really good actually. Sorry about that.
So let me understand this. You used to wear glasses. You played
Yeah.
games, no longer need glasses.
And as time go, I don't know if I outgrew it or it was games or what, but for some reason it just helped.
Sure.
I just started becoming really good, and my eyesight got better, and I don't wear glasses anymore, and I can go with intense lighting and everything.
Well, everyone, there you have it. Healthy aging comes to you via gaming. Thank you very much for joining us. So, moving on from those really great personal experiences, I'd like to understand, or as far as I've understood this morning, is that the library is a place where you're witnessing healthy aging taking place. In which way is this happening? Can you give me some insight into the library's contribution to healthy aging?
Okay, for libraries, as we mentioned earlier, the first point is that libraries are safe spaces and they are accessible. So they are within communities for the elderly, or not just the elderly, anyone who is a member of the community to just walk in and access tools. Now, the key is to make these tools available, ICT tools. But most importantly, when they talk about gaming, someone also mentioned that they're looking forward to a future where libraries will have different technologies for people to experience technology. So that's what we would like to see in libraries. And we have started, having computers is a start where people can learn to use computers in their own pace, unlike when they go to a college to learn or in a training center. But in a library, an elderly person can just go there to be relaxed and have a librarian assist them to learn how to access Wi-Fi, to learn how to play a game, for example. We've got young librarians who are passionate about technology. I've even seen in some of the private libraries that we partnered with where they have virtual reality rooms where people can go there and experience virtual reality. They can experience playing games. The game experience that we took some of our librarians to that space, they were able to see the possibilities that there can be in public libraries for the communities. So for me, I think we've started, but we can do more to bring these technologies for people to experience technology at any age. But she's from the branch as well, so I don't know what her experiences were.
I think just to touch on what you're saying, it's for me, I'm more looking of what is possible than what is already being done. We know what is being done. We are constantly talking about it. We're constantly promoting it. But I'm more interested in what still has to be done and what are the possibilities for the future of our libraries. For me, when I think of technology, I think of apps, apps that are going to help us in our library for circulation, for book suggestions. We can even have apps for healthy aging. Apps, let's say you have a tablet that can help you read your heart rate in a library, or you can walk into a library and have a monitoring machine that will tell you to say, okay, your heart rate is this high or this low, or how many steps you've taken. So it's just in my future, when I think of it, I think of a fusion of health and reading, putting them together, putting the two together, because that's I've noticed a lot of the demographics of the people that are coming into our library are interested in. They're interested in reading books, but at the same time, they're also interested, because a lot of the older people from our neighborhood, they walk to our library. So you'll find a lot of the older folks walk into our library. So that tells me, and they'll tell you, oh, I live up the road, or I live 2 blocks away or 3 blocks away, and I didn't want to drive to the library. So they'll walk to the library, and then they'll get a book that they like. They'll sit around a bit, ask for certain books, and then they'll leave and they'll walk. So if we can fuse the books and the health in some way in the near future, I think that will be.
Yeah, and also just to add to that, one of the things that we are doing is empowering staff, because if we want to introduce innovations, we have to have skilled librarians who can work, like as she's explaining, how do we help the senior citizens to use technology and play games if our staff members themselves don't have the skills? So we have librarians who are doing digital innovation course at WITS. We are introducing them to online courses that can help them understand things like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality. And in future, it would be nice to have a situation, like she's saying, where you go to a library, you use a tablet to do all your health checks, or we borrow you a tablet that you will have at home to use to check your health, to use to look for books, to use to play games, and then you bring it back.
Right.
So, picking up on the walking theme, somebody who I see walking with his laptop in hand often is the gentleman to your left. On those short walks with your laptop, what are you seeing as digital technology's ability to add to this healthy aging? The possibilities with healthy aging.
Such a disaster. If I'm still walking with this laptop, it means it's not working much. So, look, the future is really bright, and there's magnanimous opportunities that we're seeing, come to fruition, whether or not we like it. You can either be part of it or you can just observe. The fact is, we're seeing more folks. I mean, gaming as we understood it 10 years ago, before Oculus VR, was simply sitting in front of a PlayStation and just playing a game. In fact, if you think about 20, 30 years ago, it was a little console, probably a Nintendo or whatever, and it wasn't quite stimulating. Today, you've got virtual reality, augmented reality, for the gamers. And I like to tie that with, say, the libraries. In your partnerships with the likes of Google, etc. It's all well and good that they can bring some software, but if we are able to put virtual reality in people's homes and in the libraries, we're then able to change a library visit experience, if you will. We're able to impact, how we get consultations, if you will. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like having to up and leave and go to a hospital or a doctor, etc. So if I'm able to interface with the doctor from where I am, my goodness, that makes me so happy. In fact, I actually wish more people could have a doctor come to their office. But now we're able to use technology to bridge that gap. And what that does is it actually assists smart medicines, because you need a lot of data to actually get these smart medicines, and whether or not we like it again, folks are living longer, and they will live much longer, because we're able to, check our vitals every 10 minutes.
Reminders on our phones.
Well, well, I for one like the fact that people are living longer. In final, in final thoughts, help me live longer better. What are your tips, Tebello?
Help you live longer, better.
Yeah.
I would say incorporate the two. There's technology, but there's also everything else outside of technology, even though we're talking about technology. So if you're going to be a person who's very much involved with the tech side of life, still, I would say incorporate the real world. I love to take walks. I'm still a person that loves to hike. I'm still a person that loves to take walks. I'm still a person that loves to go out camping. So I would say find a balance between the two. And if you can't find a balance between the two, find a solution that is not going to pull you so far apart from yourself or from your health or how you're living. Find, like we're saying, with a tablet, if you're a person who can't go to the doctor and obviously you have to consult virtually, but still take walks, still perhaps walk to the chemist to get your prescription that you got from your doctor over the Zoom meeting. So I think just incorporating the two, because I not yet at a point where I completely believe that technology is our sole reason for longevity. I still believe that we still have a lot of work that we have to do ourselves besides technology. Healthy eating, healthy walking, taking our meds, taking our vitals, and all those things. So I think incorporating the two, and if you're a person who can't take your meds or forgets to take your meds, use the technology to have a pill reminder that will remind you to take your pills. Have a sleep monitor on your app, on your phone when you sleep, so you know how your sleeping patterns are and such things like that. So incorporating those two, I think, could be a step forward into increasing our lifespan and longevity in general.
Okay, I hear that. I'll start with a walk. Jeff?
I really love her points of merging the two, because we always have people who fear technology, thinking that we are discarding traditional ways of doing things. So I really agree with her. But as a librarian, I would say for longevity, read. So,
Okay.
so yeah, that's my first point. But also, be open to learning, because I think that's one of the ways that we can get rid of the fear of technology. If a person is willing to learn, they can be willing to learn about games and not associate them with young people. They can be willing to learn about how to use a computer. Just the concept of lifelong learning. This is what we push in libraries. Lifelong learning, whether you have a degree or you don't have a degree or you've got your PhD. If you have a PhD, don't assume that that's you. You've got it all figured out. You must be open to learning, because as you learn, you keep growing, and then you're most likely to live longer. That's how I.
Just to add on to what you're saying, if you are a person who is in that position, I would say empower the next person. If you are a young person who's into gaming or a young person who's always on their phones, I would say use that time, use that energy to empower the next person. Empower your grandmother, empower your aunt, empower your sister, and everybody else that needs those skills, anybody else that is trying to read and does not know that libraries still exist. So I think having knowledge and passing it on to the next person, having a teachable spirit for the next person is also another way that we can just grow in general.
All right. Now I'm going to leave the librarians, because a librarian always has another book. This was Jeff's point. Even if you have a PhD, you've not read enough.
I'd say don't take life too seriously. Because from a gaming perspective, I think that's the one thing that has always helped me, and that's the one thing that has honestly helped us to even start. Just believing in yourself, and as just taking the first opportunity and saying, okay, whatever happens, happens. Because I know I'm not saying live life recklessly or don't think about the repercussions of whatever you do, but as gaming has taught us to relax, to calm down, not to with everything that's happening in life now, with fights, with corruption. There's numerous things that actually could put you on a downward spiral in terms of life. But just relax, take a chill pill, and play a game.
Don't forget to set a reminder to take that chill pill.
Yes, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, from what he said, I would say that at the same time, don't be too caught up into games. I I don't know if y'all know this thing, the multi what is this? Meta universe. You can create your own character. You can be who you want to be in real life. You understand? You can create your own character. You can drive whatever car you want to drive. So people get caught up into those things. You understand? So they get a bit lost out of reality. So I would say just know how to balance the two. Just be in between. Don't be too much on this side or the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, this seems to be the best place to leave it. A caution to balance things out. The power of digital technology on the one side, but the reality of life outside of what will be the metaverse and the gaming verse and the library and the laptop walk in the office. We've been encouraged to take walks periodically. We've also been encouraged to be the character you want to be in life. I think what this tells us is that the power of digital technologies can enhance our aging. It can also be relevant to older persons. But in all that, we are hoping for a better life, and we have the power in our hands to do it. I hope that you've been empowered with insights, some tips, some tricks, some pieces of knowledge that you didn't know existed about how to achieve this. And I'd like to ask you to help me thank all of the people that have weighed in this morning. I'm certainly going to do a few things differently, and I look forward to seeing how this powerful technology helps you in the year ahead. My thanks to everyone here who has been patient and gracious. People who've tried to connect Zooms, one of the modern challenges of the world. The people at ABT for hosting us and for the conversation. I hope it continues after this. The people who'll do it on YouTube, make sure to use the comments. And I look forward to hearing great stories in the time to come. Thank you so much, and I wish you a very happy World Telecommunications and Information Society Day 2022.